All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Welcome. For those of you that are listening to this, we actually went in a little different order. Usually we do the talk first and the journey second, and we went in the reverse order today. So we're just coming out of a journey here in our live group. And so, yeah, I'm a little tiny bit altered, but also feeling much better than I was earlier. So I told the group here before we started, I actually had a pretty stressful morning. So, I needed to be in that Reiki energy for a little bit before I could actually get my words, being able to use my words. So we are kind of continuing this talk about our dreams, and we have been doing this now for a few weeks. I think we have maybe this week and next week left. Might be 2 weeks, but I think next week is the last week of this subject. I see Danny shaking her head. Hi, Danny. I didn't say hi to you on the recording.
Hi, everybody. So glad to be here today.
Yep. Colleen is teaching today, so it's Danny and I. Also, really quick, Colleen is teaching a Karuna Reiki Master class this weekend, which will be the 7th, 8th, and 9th of February. So there's still a few spaces left if you're interested in taking that class. You can go to our website, to our classes page. So today, what the journey was about, which I find journeying in these spaces so helpful because sometimes it's really hard to either know what our dreams are, um, have clarity around what our dreams are. It's another place that it can be really challenging to know in our waking life. But also, what are the higher versions of our dreams? When we are in that entrained space, what does Reiki, what do the enlightened ones have to show us about those? For me, it's like I can think that I have certain dreams in my waking life, which it doesn't make those any less valid. But then when I go into the Reiki energy with it, it shows me an entirely different structure around what that means. It shows me maybe even another layer underneath why what I think my waking life dreams are. Um, and then almost kind of like what really my dreams are when I'm in that Reiki space. Other times I may not have any answers. I'm like, I don't know. What are my dreams in this area? Some areas are easier than others to know what they are about. It's part of the reason that we break them down um, into like the different categories that we've been breaking them down. I feel like there's some tangible ones because we live in a society that is very much about like producing, right? That some of those can be a little more tangible than some of the other ones. Like today, we talked about our personal life. Those are some of the places that might be a little bit more intangible. And so going into the Reiki energy can very much help with the clarity around that. I think many of us can relate and maybe know in this kind of waking sense what our dreams might be in our relationships, in all manner, all variety of relationships. But what I find really interesting in that space is that when I go into the Reiki energy, it just does really show me a deeper level of what that means to me in, again, all different kinds of relationships. And so that one too, I think that one in particular as well, there can be a lot of healing that is needed. And these two subjects, personal life and relationships, I would say really that space at the river of life, that time that we took to let go of those places that there might have been a lot of hurt, places that have affected maybe our worthiness, whether it's in relationships or whether it's in personal life. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, those are usually very intertwined. Those places that we can try to have the Reiki energy assist us in letting go of some of those things so that we can make space for the new, so that we can make space for the places of our dreams to manifest. And that is a really big place that Reiki helps us in these two categories. And some of the other categories that we've talked about has been job, work, finances, again, those kind of producing, productive aspects of our lives can feel a little easier to kind of grasp onto. But in these two categories, these are really big places for that I know consistently ask Reiki to help us, right? How can it help us in these places where, I feel like the questions almost define what we're talking about with these. What kind of person do I aspire to be? I think that that's a really interesting one. I think so many of us are in this place with Reiki energy or these modalities, because it's not just in Reiki, but in these modalities that we are trying to grow and heal and become better versions of ourselves. That might be not quite the right way to say that. For some of us, it might be. For some of us, it might be a different idea of like maybe we are trying to become more of our authentic selves, maybe trying to not hide from the versions of our authentic selves from ourselves and then expressing that in our life can be a big place that we see the Reiki energy come in and really support us in that. And there can be a lot of cultural conditioning. There can be a lot of things from traumas in our life that can really cover that part of ourselves. That is such a big piece of what Reiki energy helps us to do. And what brings us joy and fulfillment? Where are our dreams in that? Sometimes that, especially when we are in a really challenging cycle, and even if we're in one, or maybe if we're coming out of one, that can be really hard to even know what that is. Maybe we're in a different stage of ourselves entirely. Maybe we've gone through, you know, uh I'm thinking of retirement just because my mom's been talking so much about that. Colleen's been talking so much about that with my dad. But it can be, birth, it can be death, it can be a relationship ending, it can be a relationship starting. There's so many different kinds of transitions that we come into in our life. And so who are we after that? That's part of our personal life. Where are we joyful in those places? Or fulfillment? Sometimes those habits, routines, self-care, I thought was interesting because sometimes when we are in a challenging cycle, that's all we can try to think about. Sometimes it's like, okay, that one next step, that one next right thing. How do I kind of, move my way through this? And so sometimes it's the clarity within that, within our dreams. I know coming out of a really hard cycle for, coming up on about 5 years now, and I feel like I'm through it. Hopefully. No, I am through it. I'm claiming it. I am through it. Is that when, you're on the couch too sick to barely even move, your dreams look very different than when you're feeling well and you can actually see further into the future. And so sometimes that's where your dreams are. Oh, if I could just walk to the end of the block. Sometimes that's your dream. And so that's why the Reiki energy can come in and help us with that, because we can talk about our dreams from the perspective of a meta version, right? But it's so individual. It's so individual that where I'm at is different than every single person here, and where I'm at is different than the person who I was a year ago and the year before that, and what is happening in the world and all of those kinds of things as well. And the noise can be so loud. It's like, how do we get into this and listen to ourselves on who that is and what that means to each of us? Because that is a really big piece of it as well. And right now, the noise is very, very palpable, and there's real things happening always, still living in those unprecedented times. And so that's another piece. What is that? Who are we and what are our dreams through all of that as well? So that is such a big piece of it. And then going into the relationships aspects and whether that is a partner, a romantic partner relationship, whether that's our family, whether that's friends, and even that can be within like our colleagues or our work environment or, those kinds of relationships as well. I think a lot of us we spend time in the navigating of our personal relationships. And that Reiki comes in and supports us, whether that's we want to manifest a different type of relationship, whether that's we want to manifest more relationships, whether that is us taking care of us in those spaces. Like, how do I heal from past things? Or how do I support myself through challenging times? Or how do I grow as a person to help me manifest different or more relationships? I know it seems strange, but actually, in my personal life, I can be um, quite shy in getting to know new people. um, and so it's like, okay, well, where can I have growth within myself in order to kind of overcome that, throat chakra stuff? Where is it in my past that has created that within me? And that fear of putting myself out there. And so those are places as well. Those are kind of maybe some of the little unexpected places that we find. How can I make sure that I am speaking my needs, and uh, being better at communication within my relationship? And then if you are in different relationship phases with a romantic partner, this can be a really big area of wanting to manifest your dreams in. And those mantras that we might speak to ourselves, that Reiki energy that we might put behind it, the vision boards that we might do, and really, again, another piece of quieting that noise, because there's a lot of noise in this area right now as well. Um, Social media, dating apps, all of those kinds of things, meeting people, like how does that all work in this world now? And then, of course, making space for the potential that might be there when we might have been through a lot of hurt in our lives in this area, and had a lot of things in this area. Maybe it's not even about that. Maybe it's just about you with like your own relationship with yourself, or again, growth with yourself in this area, the strength of heart and all of those places in the chakras that you might be focusing on before even thinking about a relationship. So it's just so unique. And this is the thing that I love about this. It's that when we go in and we ask these questions and we look at Reiki energy, or we ask Reiki energies to help us with these questions, or our spirit guides, um, is that it really isn't a one size fits all answer. I do think that sometimes in some of these in some of this work, there can be that viewpoint that it's a one size fits all answer. If I just do this and this and this, then all of my dreams will be realized. It's like formulaic. And I'm not saying that that doesn't work too. And sometimes that also can come down to belief system. And as we always say, it is about our own inner guidance and our own belief system and what works for each of us. But what I love about being able to discover these questions in our own work, asking the higher frequencies, asking the enlightened energies in our own work, is receiving each one of ours divine answers, our human answers. How is it guiding us? How is it helping to heal us? How is it letting go of those things, removing those, we're calling them wet blankets when we were in our Reiki 1 and 2 class this weekend. Those wet blankets that can cover our potential from ourselves, or, make us feel a certain way about ourselves um, that the Reiki can help to remove. And that's a really big piece of both of these categories, for each one of us. And again, it is about what it looks like to each one of us. And sometimes that it helps to give an insight about a program that has a formulaic answer, and that is what helps us, right? So it's not about that kind of thing isn't a part of our journey. It is just more about that might be right for somebody and not right for another person. And Reiki energy really helps us to clarify that for us. And also that the guidance can come outside of just these spaces, right? The guidance can come in the form of a some sort of sign, right? Like maybe an actual literal sign, like a physical sign, or a quote that can come through on our social media that really resonates, or somebody that shows up on a podcast for us that really resonates. Um, or even different aha moments in the shower or cooking or driving, or those different times when our mind might be occupied a little bit more, so it gives space for like the subconscious to come through. Maybe it's in our actual sleeping dreams. And so all of those things are a possibility within it. And that's why at the end, it definitely was like, really make sure to invite the insights to come through, because we didn't have a lot of space to, time to go into. And these don't have a lot of time to really spend. I would have loved to have spent time in each one of those questions, a couple minutes or so in each one of those questions. Although what it was showing at the time is that like the right questions were going to highlight for what we each needed today. And so you might not have remembered one of the other questions, one of the other prompts, but that the ones that you needed were the ones that were highlighted for you. But that the insights can continue. And it was very definite about that. And that is one of the other cool things about Reiki energy, is that can happen with it, can ask to turn on that access to that subconscious, to that divine, to those spirit guides to come in and really give you that clarity or give you those answers, or maybe even more questions in the moment of like, okay, well, I answered that. Or maybe what's the question that I actually need to be asking myself? What are the insights that I actually need to be asking myself? So I think, Danny, is there anything that you would like to add? Or
It's great. No, I love talking about dreams. I could do it all day long, and especially with Reiki. I mean, each night, just inviting Reiki to, provide solutions or ideas. It's really interesting when once you do that, what comes up in the morning or in the middle of the night.
or some people said gym, garden. Yeah, agreed. Dreams, actual dreams. Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody.